December 3rd, 2024. Can I get a call to order and a roll call?
Councillor Bosmans.
Can you unmute Councillor Bosmans?
Looks like his mic is muted.
Councillor Bosmans, can you unmute now?
Yeah, I just got connection. Thank you. I'm present.
Great.
Great. Mayor Buell.
Here.
Councillor Woodruff.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Here.
And Councillor Youssef.
Here.
Item 1.1, the reading of the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. Item 2, introduction of translator.
Hi, good evening. My name is Liz Torres, and I am here with my colleague, B. Torres from the Community Language Co-op. We're here to serve language justice, and that's what this means is that everyone has the right to speak and be heard in the language of their heart. So today we're on Teams, and if you are online, you can go to the More menu and select Language and Speech, and from there, select Interpretation of Language, and you can select Spanish. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Liz Torres y estoy aquí con mi colega Vi Torres. Estamos aquí con la Cooperativa Comunitaria del Lenguaje para promover la justicia lingüística y el día de hoy vamos a interpretar del inglés al español. Para seleccionar español en Teams, vaya al menú de More, que son los 3 puntitos arriba de su pantalla, y allí puede seleccionar Language and Speech y luego de ahí va usted a seleccionar la interpretación a español. Si usted tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, levante su mano. Gracias. We can go ahead and get started.
Excellent. Item 3, opening remarks by Mayor and Council. Does anyone have opening remarks? All right. Next up, item 4, presentations and proclamations. We'll start with 4.1, proclamation recognizing Mary Monroe Brown's contribution to Durango community. I will have Mary and Christina meet me up at the podium. Yeah, we get a face, and yep. And I'm going to read a bunch of whereases and talk about you and how amazing you are. And then Christina's going to talk about how amazing you are. And then you can say some things if that's okay, because you are. All right, proclamation recognizing Mary Monroe Brown's service to the Durango community. Whereas after 19 years of dedicated service, Mary Monroe Brown is stepping away from her role as executive director of Durango Trails, making the end of an era of leadership, passion, and unparalleled commitment to the organization and the community it serves. And whereas Mary Monroe Brown's leadership and vision has been instrumental in the development of hundreds of miles of world-class mountain bike trails, making Durango one of the premier recreation destinations in the country. And whereas Durango Trails has grown into a dynamic nonprofit organization that not only builds and maintains more than 300 miles of trails, but also educates users, and promotes connectivity across roads, paths, and trails, contributing to a vibrant, healthy, and sustainable community. And whereas Durango Trails thrives because of the unwavering support from its volunteers, donors, and community members, all of whom share in the collective goal of preserving and enhancing the trail network that brings so many to our region. And whereas Mary Monroe Brown's leadership has created lasting change and a legacy of community collaboration that has transformed Durango's trail system, fostering an environment that encourages outdoor recreation, environmental stewardship, and community engagement. And whereas as Mary Monroe Brown steps away from her role, her legacy will continue to be felt for years to come, inspiring future generations to carry forward the work she began and ensuring that Durango remains a world-class destination for outdoor enthusiasts. Now, therefore, I, Jessica Buell, Mayor of Durango, Colorado, do hereby proclaim this Tuesday, December 3rd, as a day of gratitude and celebration for Mary Monroe Brown's extraordinary contributions to Durango Trails and the Durango community. We extend our deepest thanks for her leadership, her unwavering commitment to our trails and the people who enjoy them, and for her lasting impact on this community. Thank you. Okay.
So much. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, council members. Thank you, city manager and staff for acknowledging this. It's I served on city council for 8 years and had the honor of serving as mayor as well. And I'm current board president of Durango Trails, and it's been such an honor. It feels odd to have my back to the audience. So Dias used to be here. I'm like, what is happening? But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for acknowledging Mary Monroe Brown in this way, because as council member and mayor, you sometimes don't see what happens behind the scenes with this. And now I had the opportunity to see both sides of this organization. And I know Councilor Youssef served on the board as well, and she had an opportunity to see that unique perspective. But as the mayor mentioned in the proclamation, it's so incredible to have 300 miles of trails within 30 minutes of downtown. And I think that's just phenomenal. And over the last 35 years of this organization, we've only had 2 executive directors, which is unheard of in a nonprofit organization. So I just can't believe we almost 20 years with Mary at the helm. And in our audience here, we have former board members, Bob Allen, Mike Finney, and Scott Fleming had this vision, and Bill Manning started this concept in 1990. And so in 2005, Mary joined the organization and elevated it to all of the things that the mayor mentioned in this proclamation. And it was her idea to have the Extended Ridge Trail connect with a private landowner before the city purchased it. And so that trail was developed there. And Mary built and envisioned the Sky Steps, which I know the mayor and I frequent on a regular basis, and many of us do here in the community. And Mary evolved the log chutes trail systems and worked ferociously for years to make sure the Colorado Trail and the Hermosa Creek Trail were still able to remain open for mountain bikers. If it wasn't for Mary, that would have been closed. And I don't think many people realize that, and the incredible impact that she had on the legacy that you mentioned in your proclamation. And she developed over 50 miles of new trails from Sugar and Horse Gulch over to 8 Bells and Overend Mountain Park. And that's just incredible as well. And she's developed an incredible team. She was an incredible leader for all of these years. And it's just been such an honor to see her at the helm. And we had this joke in our board, the previous boards, that Mary was just lucky at finding grant money and donations. And it's way more than luck. We talked about that. It's way more than luck. She has been tenacious at helping find grants, thank you to the city for your contribution as well, and for all those who are members of Durango Trails. There isn't one person in this community that should not be a member of Durango Trails. So if you're not a member, now's the time to go on the website and sign up. So I just wanted to thank you for helping celebrate her almost 20 years of service. And Bob Allen, as the founding member, might want to share. Would you like to share some words on the beginning of the organization?
Kind of a surprise. We started the organization when? 1990. We used to meet at my house in our living room. We did that for about 3 or 4 years, and I saw Bill Manning in the locker room at the rec center, or the Durango Court Club, which is now something else, Durango Sports Club. I looked at Bill Manning and I said, Manning, you need a job. And from there we took off. And I have to admit, it's a source of pride that it's evolved into what Mary has grown it into. And Durango Trails, it's impressive. When we started out, none of those trails were there, 0. Most of what we did was under the radar, shouldn't have been done, but we did it and we got it going. And I got to thank Mary for 20 years of dedication to it. It's been a great run. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council members, City Manager, and I apologize for having my back to the audience. Thank you to so many of people who are here tonight to support Durango Trails, and me and my family who have stood by me all of these years. Thank you for this wonderful recognition. It's been a privilege to serve our vibrant community, working alongside so many passionate leaders like each of you, volunteers, land managers, and partners who share a commitment to preserving and enhancing our trail system. And our trails are more than pathways through the landscape. They connect people, they inspire adventure, and they strengthen the bonds of our incredible community. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together, and I know the future of Durango Trails is in excellent hands with our dedicated team, many of them here. Thank you for your ongoing support of our vital work and believing in the power of trails to enrich lives. This recognition is deeply meaningful, and I accept it, but only on behalf of everyone who has contributed to our mission. Durango is truly a very special place with access to over 300 miles of trails within 30 minutes of downtown. I'm lucky to benefit from the work of so many people, especially all of those who came before me. So as we say, great communities build great trails, and great trails build great communities. Thank you so much, and happy trails. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing too? Is it okay? I just want to thank Mary also. Sorry. I did have the pleasure of working with Mary on the Parks and Rec board, and also just watching her over the years with Trails 2000. And Mary exemplifies the most collaborative leader that you can find. And she says that trails connect people. And I say that Mary connects people, and Mary Connect has done so much for our community and our quality of life through all of her efforts at building these trails and empowering the community to help do that. And in building relationships with organizations that have been really made such an impact on our community. She also is such a great leader for someone who has overcome massive obstacles, as you're talking about all these trails that she has helped to design and legislation that she's helped pass to protect our trails and watershed areas. It's been significant. You will be missed, and we will pull you back in slowly in different ways. So thank you so much for your service and your efforts in Durango. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, next up, we have 4.2, a proclamation recognizing Wreaths Across America Day. Who is coming? Yep, excellent. This guy's does. Yeah. Yeah. I'm fine. See you on Friday. Or the meeting tomorrow? Friday. Oh, hockey. So, the Lions tomorrow. See you tomorrow. All right, excellent. Hi. Okay, a proclamation by the City Council of the City of Durango, Colorado, proclamation in support of Wreaths Across America Day, December 14th, 2024. Salvador. Go. Excellent. Whereas in 1992, Merrill Worcester of Worcester Wreath Company recognized that his services as a businessman were in large part due to the values of this nation and the veterans who made the sacrifices for their country. And whereas by early 2002, with so many requests for ceremony wreaths, the Worcesters reached out to the community, and the nonprofit group Wreaths Across America was formed. With the help of the Civil Air Patrol and many others, in 2008, ceremonies were held simultaneously at 300 locations. From the snowy banks of Alaska to the sands of Iraq, our nation's heroes were honored. From here, Wreaths Across America movement was born. And whereas last year, over 3 million remembrance wreaths were placed in total at over 4,224 participating locations around the country in all 50 states and beyond. This was accomplished with the help of thousands of fundraising groups, corporate contributions, and donations of 717 truckloads by 390 trucking carriers and 3 million helping hands. And whereas over 1,300 of our country's veterans are laid to rest at Green Mount Cemetery in Durango, Colorado, from the Civil War to our latest conflicts. And whereas many thanks are afforded to the City of Durango for permission to participate in the program, and to those who donated and who volunteered in this gesture of gratitude and moment of teaching, honoring, and remembrance. And whereas in this 4th year of participating, wreaths have been sponsored for 100% of the known veterans buried at Green Mount Cemetery and beyond. And whereas at 12 o'clock noon in Arlington, Virginia, simultaneous remembrance ceremonies are planned, followed by the laying of wreaths upon veterans' graves across the nation and beyond, our shores to remember, honor, and teach. This 3-pronged mission is to remember the fallen, honor those who serve and their families, and teach future generations about the sacrifices made to obtain and preserve our freedoms. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the City Council of Durango, do hereby proclaim December 14th, 2024 to be Wreaths Across America Day as we lay wreaths in honor of our veterans. Oh, no. So like turn, like hold it. Yeah, there. You want to say a few words?
Yes, I may.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Yes. Thank you very much. I do not have a speech prepared. This is a whole new concept for me. So thank you very much. And what I have is an invitation that if you want to join us on December 14th. We do have a police escort leaving from Santa Rita Park at 9:30. It will go up Main Ave to Fassbinder Park and up Cemetery Road to a ceremony waiting for us at Green Mount Cemetery. And that will be at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then right after that, we will lay the wreaths throughout the cemetery. So thank you.
Okay, moving along. Item 5, city manager updates.
No updates this evening.
Okay, item 6, committee, board, and liaison reports. Councillor Woodruff. Let's go.
Just going straight for it. Actually, kind of a slow week, to be completely honest. I did attend the end of term celebration for the Southern Ute Tribal Council yesterday. It was good to recognize Vice Chair Cloud and Councillor Vanessa. I forget her last name, but they both were, very highly touted by both tribal members and other dignitaries, and it was good to represent Durango, to recognize their efforts, and wish them the best as they continue forward.
Anyone else? Meetings over the last 2 weeks? No. I had my city council office hours today, had a few visitors. We talked about indoor pickleball courts, the Three Springs 160 Smart Trail. We talked about the River Surf Club is wanting a new surfing options that will last more of the season, not just during high water, and then maybe help children get out in the river a little bit more. And so that was exciting to hear about. I had someone come in and talk about College Fourth area, kind of safety concerns over there, sidewalks, that sort of thing. Yeah, those were kind of the big deals, and that was all I had. I have Alliance starting tomorrow and some other things, so staying tuned on that. Councillor Bosman, did you have anything?
No, nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Item 7, public comment on action items only. These are items that council will vote on tonight. Can I have a reading of the rules?
This public comment is encouraged on agenda items set for consideration and a vote by the council tonight. Public comments on items not set for consideration by the council come later in the meeting. Please begin your comments by stating the agenda items set for a vote you intend to speak on, your full name, and if you are a resident of the city of Durango. Make your comments directly to the council. Do not expect a response from the council or staff. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, unless modified by the council. Unused time is not transferable to other speakers. Comments must be specific to the item you identified when you began your comments. Profanity, hate speech, personally derogatory remarks, speech unrelated to the item you identified, or other speech that is disruptive to the meeting will be ruled out of order by the chair, and any remaining time will be forfeited by the speaker. Exceeding the time limit infringes on the rights of others and is out of order. Only a majority vote of the council can modify time limits. Please note, you must sign up prior to the mayor calling the item on the agenda. Signing up after the item is called will result in your name not being called to speak.
We have 4 people signed up, Mayor. On 8.2.3 is Antonio Espinoza.
Durango, speaking on the whole affordable housing thing. I moved here 3 years ago, and one of the first commercials I heard went something along the lines of working 2 jobs and still struggling to make rent. And I have less to say about whatever plan is on the table tonight and more about the more permanent solution me and my community were promised at the closure of the Purple Cliffs. I'm not upset that it was a lie. It was expected. Keep us convinced, keep us calm. I get it. Fact is, the majority of the impoverished in the city who managed to get a voucher for affordable housing don't have it anymore. The people who took the best option for help are now worse off because evictions are rather permanent and impactful. Any felon can tell you about transitioning to the civilian world after doing a bid, and any veteran can speak to the same following a deployment. It's very plain knowledge that people need help reintegrating with society after spending years upon years living a certain lifestyle. In the service, your cover comes off when you go indoors, you stand at attention when a superior walks in, and you accept that witnessing death, tragic as it may be, is part of it. When you're homeless, you keep your head low and avoid the public, camp in the hills in the winter so you don't die cold on the pavement, and accept that right now, the best chance we have to reclaim a sense of normalcy is next to impossible. Counselors, for the betterment of everyone who calls Durango home, I ask that you take the time to help pull in the people you spent the last few years pushing away. Therapy, housing, and time to heal. Stop the harassment from the police and the criminalization of being poor. Help us create a working solution to the crisis of homelessness. Keeping our city's current methodology for dealing with the lower class in mind. Any guarantee for affordable housing guarantees more homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Richard Reitz on item 8.2.7.
Good evening. My name is Richard Reitz. I'm a resident of Durango, and I'm here to speak, as they said, on the sale of the parcel to the railroad, agenda item 8.2.7. In the November 19th meeting in this topic, the presentation stated that the 2002 purchase from the railroad was done to, quote, raise cash desperately needed by the railroad after the Missionary Ridge fire. The sale actually took place in December 2001, and that's when the document was signed. As this was months before the fire started in June 2002, that cannot be the case. With the railroad having the right of first refusal to repurchase its property, this can be viewed as a secured loan. Based on the available rent data paid by the railroad, the starting imputed interest rate was 1% per year and averaged about 1.7% per year for 20 years for the $2.5 million sale. The prime rate was 4.75% in December 2001. Loan rates are typically a few points above prime, depending on the creditworthiness of the borrower. Thus, this can be viewed as a below-market loan. It is possible that the sale proceeds were used by the railroad as leveraged capital. So this indeed may have been a very good deal for the railroad for over 20+ years. It was also stated in the November 19th meeting that the property has no public access. This was confirmed to me yesterday by a city official. Apparently, this was not disclosed to the appraisers because in the appraisal it states, quote, I make the extraordinary assumption that the subject property has legal and physical access. So who would want to buy a lot without access for $5 million? That appraisal value seems questionable. It could be argued that the only real value is to the railroad, and at most, it's just the $2.5 million that they paid for it. So the appraisal, I believe, must be redone in order to have a proper basis. Considering how long this sale has been worked on, and with two basic tenets of the sale in question, it raises concerns in my mind about the other information that has been provided for the sale. In conclusion, the city should not approve this sale until 1, new appraisals are available. 2, all the information used for considering this sale is thoroughly vetted. And 3, a new public hearing is held so the public is given adequate time to comment on the information resulting from the first 2 steps. This does not appear to be a time-critical sale, so there is time to do this. Thus, that I ask the ordinance be withdrawn and a new ordinance drawn up based on correct information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Bud Franks, also speaking on item 8.2.7.
Good evening. I'm Bud Franks. I'm a resident of the county, and I'm here to speak to the same issue. I'm also the president of the board of Steam Park, the not-for-profit organization that was founded some 10 years ago to develop a mixed-use arts and event complex. As many of you know, our not-for-profit in cooperation with BID has worked for many years now to develop such a project. And as you know, the agreement with the railroad to repurchase the property owned by the city currently used for parking for the railroad stipulates that that property should be developed. We're here tonight, our coalition is here tonight to propose a partnership between the railroad, BID, our not-for-profit, and the city to develop that property. The development we have in mind is a state-of-the-art performing arts complex and support facilities and conference facilities for 400 to 500 people. The need for such facilities is well demonstrated in this community. We have no professional, well-equipped theater. We have no conference or meeting facilities for 400 to 500 people. And the synergies for such an agreement and a partnership and development are great. Our not-for-profit brings deep expertise and experience in the development of community and cultural facilities nationwide and have for years. We also, our not-for-profit, is capable of raising the funds and incurring the debt necessary to build the improvements we suggest should happen on that parcel. BID would build a parking garage. The railroad would continue to own the property and realize the benefits of not having to infuse that much cash into the development, and realize the benefits of financial from the operations of the financial benefits from the operations of the facilities in hand. By way of summary, such a development would greatly enhance the sale of this property, and it would not be in current dollars, but in the revenues that would be realized by the city and the county from those operations in future years, and the substantial economic impact that such facilities have in communities. And BID would provide a parking garage that has been talked about for some time in this community. We're here tonight to ask council to consider these proposals and consider this proposal for partnership greatly, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last person signed up is Barbara Noseworthy, also speaking on item 8.2.7.
Good evening. The December 18th, 2001 City Council minutes indicate that the train approached the city in the summer of 2001 because they, quote, had an immediate cash need of some magnitude due to litigation the company was involved in. The city signed the purchase agreement with the train on December 20th, 2001. And the fire, as was mentioned earlier, took place on June 9th, 2002, 6 months later. In the early years of this arrangement, the train paid the city very little. Some years, nothing was collected. Eventually, the train was paying $25,000 per year, and I believe the first time the train paid the city $100,000 to rent the parking lot was in 2020. Basically, the city provided a no-interest loan for 2+ decades to the train. Some might call this a sweetheart deal. The city has also known about the transportation budget shortfall for years. When council was considering increasing the lodger's tax, I argued that more of the tax revenue should address the approaching transportation deficit. Instead, the lion's share is spent marketing the city of Durango. In April, the city could ask our citizens to vote to change the allocation of the lodger's tax to support transportation, thus addressing the transportation budget deficit. The previous city council on which I served conducted an RFP process to hear from the public their ideas for best use of this valuable and strategic city asset. After an evaluation of numerous proposals, 2 entities were selected to present to council in February 2023. One was the group working to create a world-class performing arts center, and the other was the train. The train came to the meeting with a very different proposal than what had been reviewed. This was a major procurement violation on the train's part and completely stopped the public process. Since February 2023, the city has not re-engaged with the performing arts group or the larger public in any discussion of the best use of this city asset. The 2001 agreement provided that if the train reacquired the property, the city would have final approval on future development. Has the public seen any proposed ideas for how the train will develop this property? And what is the deadline for the train to honor its commitment to develop the property in a manner suitable for the gateway to the city? And finally, there is the proposed sale price. This asset has not gone through an open, transparent bidding process. I ask you to do the following. Remove the sale of the city asset from the consent agenda. Conduct a thorough public process to determine best use for this prime real estate, which may include the city retaining the asset or public-private partnerships to create a facility that benefits many residents and tourists for decades to come. And 3, if a sale is to go forward, engage in an open, transparent process to ensure the city is getting top dollar for this underutilized asset. I thank you for your consideration, and I especially thank you for your service to our community. Thank you.
Is that it? No one else has signed up, Mayor.
Excellent. Next up is item 8, the consent agenda. Can I have a reading of the consent agenda?
Item 8.1 is approval of minutes. It's approval of minutes of the November 19th, 2024 City Council regular meeting. 8.2 is final reading of ordinances, with 8.2.1 being ordinance 0/2024-26, approving West Side Triangle annexation and initial zoning. 8.2.2 is final reading of ordinance 0/2024-27 regarding the sale of city-owned property located at 166 East 33rd Street per the city charter, Article 211D, conveyance of real property. 8.2.3 is final reading of ordinance 2024-28, authorizing the city manager to execute a land acquisition agreement for parcel number 5667321060004, Lot 4, Rivergate subdivision, for the purposes of future affordable housing development. 8.2.4 is final reading of ordinance 2024-0029, amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 3-3, Business Classifications. 8.2.5 is ordinance 2024-0030, amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Taxation, Article 2, Sales and Use Tax, Section 23-16, words and phrases defined. 8.2.6 is final reading of ordinance 0/2024-31, amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Sections 1-2, Definition, Rules of Construction. 8.2.7 is ordinance 0/2024-0032, approving the sale of 209 West College Drive to the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Company. 8.2.8 is final reading of ordinance 0/2024-0033, appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies for operating expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2025 budget year. 8.2.9 is final reading of ordinance 24-0034, appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies for capital expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2025 budget year. 8.3 is adoption of resolutions by consent agenda. 8.3.1 is a resolution to approve the 2025 pay and classification plans. 8.3.2 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to provide a letter of support for an application submission as the host site candidate for the 2030 Union Cyclist International UCI Mountain Bike World Championships. 8.3.3 is a resolution to adopt the 2025 legislative agenda for the city of Durango. 8.4 is approval of other administrative items, including 8.4.1, approval of the 2025 City Council meeting schedule with 2 updated meeting dates. There are no items under 8.5, request for public hearings. 8.6 is introduction of ordinances. 8.6.1 is introduction of an ordinance for an easement for La Plata Electric Association to provide electric utility service to the Ritz and Wings Aviation Hangar at the Durango La Plata County Airport, to be held on January 7th, 2025. 8.6.2 is an introduction of an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 7, Code of Conduct and Code of Ethics, Section 2-205, Mandatory Standards of Ethical Conduct. 8.6.3 is introduction of an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 3-1, Definitions, and it doesn't have anything after definitions. 8.7 is there's no request for excused absences.
Thank you. That was a long one.
Mark's killing me over here.
Any city councilors want to pull something off the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor. I would like to pull item 8.2.7 and 8.3.2.
Any other councilors?
Yeah, I also would like to remove, beside the one that Councilor Youssef said, 8.2.8 and 8.2.9 and 8.3.3.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, leaving off 8.2.7, 8.2.8, 8.2.9, 8.3.2, and 8.3.3.
I'll second.
Can I get a vote?
Mayor Beal,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Yes.
All right, let's start. We're at 9 items pulled from the consent agenda. We'll look at 8.2.7, ordinance O 2024-0032, approving the sale of 209 West College Drive to the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Company. Do I have a motion?
Yes, we need a motion first. I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented with comments after.
Second.
Great. Council discussion?
Yes, I'll start.
Yeah.
I have heard the remarks from the community, and I wanted to ask our city attorney, Mark Morgan, if he could please discuss the legal contract provisions that have gotten us to this point where we are today. Thank you.
Is this my punishment for
taking
putting
that.
so many things on the agenda? It's kind of an open-ended question. What I can tell you is that the legal department did a review of the circumstances surrounding the sale that the council directed us to do almost a year ago after an executive session on it. When I took over, there had been a request for an outside law firm to give us an opinion on a right of first refusal that was signed prior to any of us being here back in 2000. I had been told that that agreement had expired, that it was only good for 5 years, and there were a bunch of different I got a lot of information about that. So the first thing I did was approve that that firm in Denver keep working on their opinion about it. And what they concluded is kind of complicated, but they basically said that there was no obligation to sell directly back to the railroad. However, if we sold it to anyone else, damages would flow. And I know that's a little bit complicated to understand. I read the opinion a bunch of times. I tried to explain it to you guys, but in fact, in my explanation to you guys, I said that if you sell the property to anyone else, damages would flow, and that those damages would be extremely difficult to quantify, but they would be significant. And one of the things that I reviewed coming up to this meeting, someone did a very nice explanation of what type of profit the city could make if they held on to the lot. And I responded to that by saying, that's the exact same calculation that would be done if we sold it to a third party, and the city would be obligated to pay those damages. At the time that we were directed to negotiate the sale, we did have multiple appraisals, one done by the city, one done by the railroad itself. It's very common in these type of sales to look at those two appraisals and split the difference or take the middle. I advised that that was a benefit to the city because it didn't give any value to the right of first refusal that the railroad could have leveraged. I also explained that there was kind of a feeling in the public that there was an obligation to put the sale of public property out for public bid. That's a common misconception. The only obligation that you had was to sell property for fair market value. Is that?
Yes.
Are there any other questions I can answer for you,
Yeah,
Councilor?
it's helpful. Just one more follow-up question. So we've addressed that if it was sold to a third party, there could be damages and they could be significant.
Correct.
But what about, a public-private partnership and leasing or collaborative effort?
Sure. So because the direction almost a year ago was to negotiate the sale, I didn't put a lot of effort into that research. Question has come up, and I'm going to break one of those cardinal rules of being an attorney of giving kind of an off-the-cuff opinion. But I would be very, very leery of a partnership that could trigger damages for the railroad. Anytime you have an agreement where damage will flow and then you try to circumvent that agreement through something else like a lease or a development through a third party, the attorney on the other side is going to sue to try to get his damages out of it. I can't tell you exactly how that would flow, but I think one of the comments that I made was if I'm representing the railroad and the city was to do a long-term lease to somebody and then just let them develop it, I'm going to sue you for damages because all you've done is taken away the spirit of that agreement through kind of a trick by doing like a 99-year lease as opposed to a sale. A little more complicated if there's a partnership. But at the same time, again, if I'm the attorney for the railroad, I would make the argument that, look, all you've done is vested ownership rights in someone else, which which would then make my damages flow. So I guess to conclude, your options really are to sell it to the railroad or develop yourself without a partner.
That's very helpful. Thank you. And can I ask one more question? I think we've also discussed with this possible sale about the recognizing that it is an entry point into Durango, our desire to control how that looks and try to make it a more beautiful site than it currently is, with a chain link fence and a dirt road with 300 cars parked in front of it. And so we have discussed provisions as part of this negotiation as far as beautifying that lot. And I think that's really important for the community to be very well aware of. We've talked about a whole line of a buffer of trees, and we've talked about a welcoming sign in which we would work with the train and the community to welcome people to our community. And I wanted to see if Jose would talk about that partnership, that ability to impact that sign a little bit more, because I think that might be an opportunity to potentially bring in some community effort around that.
Can I make a motion to extend our time to ask questions for another 2 minutes?
Thank you. I didn't even.
Yep.
Thanks.
I can do it all in favor, right? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yes, so in regards to the welcome sign, it does say that it's got to be mutually agreeable. What that looks like can be up to anything, really, from regards to the city. I would probably see that as something that'd be advantageous for the organization and for the city to partner maybe with like the Durango Creative District and get some input from them. We could definitely also do public output and outreach and opinions on a welcome sign. So it does have to be mutually agreeable, and that would be within the pleasure of the council to discuss what you would need before making a decision from the public, from staff, etc.
Wonderful, thank you. I think Common Threads is a really great example of a really great outcome of that kind of partnership with the community. So anyway, regarding signage from that Common Threads project. Okay, sorry for going over. Thank you.
And so just to make sure for Evan, everyone will get 7 minutes, correct, on their first round. Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm gonna be honest, I really struggled with this. I've heard some good arguments on both sides of it. I've talked to other leaders that have served on this dais before us and kind of their understanding of the spirit of that agreement. And I talked to the Chamber of Commerce Board, and they all are super understanding of the transportation department and where we need to really vest our monies. I guess what I keep coming back to is that this was the spirit and in good faith. I think Councilor Yazzie used a couple of weeks ago, like we signed this agreement in good faith that this was just a placeholder for them to be able to buy it back from us. And if we go back on that agreement or the spirit of that agreement or in good faith, we go back on our word. And that's what I keep coming back to, is that we are going back on something that we had already committed to. When we talk about transparency and public trust, the erosion of that public trust, not only with our constituents, but also with our business community. What are we saying to our business community when they go into an agreement with us? And that's what I keep coming back to, is that if we can't hold ourselves to that highest standard, then how can we hold anybody else to that standard? So I struggle with this, but only I see the economic benefit. I see the idea around development, and I think there's really great opportunities. But I think we should be a champion and advocate, work alongside the train to work on the welcome sign, or how are we going to develop that? And I don't disagree with former Councilor Noseworthy that there need to be some timelines. I think that we should put in place, because I think that's important, because we just throw this out another 20 years, then we don't really solve anything. Are there timelines? Am I mistaken?
So there is not a specific timeline in the contract. That certainly could have been negotiated. What I would tell you is that with the contract signed the way it is, any reasonable amount of time that goes by, we would be justified in bringing, an action with the court to say, look, the reasonable amount of time has passed to get this started and they're refusing to do it. So we'd have to go to get court intervention. Again, it wasn't specifically negotiated, but anytime, you're negotiating a contract like that, you're depending on the good faith of both parties. That's implied. The good faith in that agreement, I would assume to be a reasonable amount of time, which would be, 3 to 5 years to at least get started.
Okay, so maybe that's something that we can work towards, but yeah, I guess I'm coming from a position of integrity, and I don't want to see us go back from the spirit of that and lose the trust and our integrity with the public in that regard.
Councillor Bosmans?
Yes, thank you. This has been on the agenda two times before, but I'll just repeat in brief what my position. I do not support the sale of this property in this manner, and I'll vote against it. I had provided my comments and explanation, explanation before during the regular city council meeting on November 5th, which is recorded, so anybody who wishes to understand why can access this online or contact me directly. In summary, it is in line with what the public commented upon. We do not need the money since we have about 115 million in total fund balance, and this is a signature property for which a future use should involve more community engagement and transparencies. And different uses have been brought up, including convention center or farmers market, and certainly the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad company would be a great entity to consider. I have reviewed the legal documents and positions upon the right of first refusal, and I think the way this is presented is for the scenario where if the city would sell it directly to another investor or whoever without giving the railroad the right for first refusal, which in that case, I agree, it would expose us to a risk and claims for damages. But when I read these documents, it seems that if the city goes through an open and transparent bidding process, engaging with our community, what the potential uses would be, and has multiple bids and ends up selecting one of those bids or identifying a use, the city still has the obligation, if the city fulfills its obligation to give the railroad the right of first refusal, then it would meet that legal requirement. And if the railroad wishes to purchase it for that offer, then great. And if they don't, then it would be able to go to the other entity, whoever that is. And there would be no risk, in my opinion, from what I've read, for damages. So this is more a question to you, to the city attorney, because it seems that the right of first refusal is focused on the city just selling it outright and not going through a bidding process, and at the end of the bidding process, giving the railroad an option to buy it at the best price. So my question, it's a question to the city attorney. Is that a correct assessment?
It is not.
Would you be willing to elaborate on that?
I think that your legal interpretation of the contract is incorrect. If you look at the opinion that was provided by the firm in Denver, it gives lots of extensive discussion about the right of first refusal for a sale. And what you're describing would create a fictitious bid process where the city wouldn't even be obligated to sell.
So the city basically has a contract that only allows it to sell to the railroad. And if it leases it to another entity, it is exposed to liability. If it wants to do anything with the property, that seems very unlikely to me. But I guess we all can have different opinions. I will still not support the sale of this property in this manner, and I appreciate the explanation.
Okay, I had the privilege of having a brief coffee with Bud and Richard and team yesterday before hockey practice, and it got me thinking, and I since that coffee, I have talked to probably 8 previous mayors and maybe 12 people that have sat on city council from 2002 to now, trying to get my head wrapped around this, like what the intention was and where we were going and whatnot. And I talked to the mayor today that sat on city council when this deal was made. And it was every intention of that city council to sell back, to help someone that needed help, a community partner, someone that's in, a very significant part of our community, to help them, and to sell it back to them when they could buy it back. Now, whether or not, if I was on council, I would have agreed to that or agreed to those terms, or, I can't say that. That was 22 years ago. It's easy for us to sit here in hindsight and say we should have charged them more every year for their lease. We should have had different clauses. Maybe if it was the intention of city council to make sure that they sell it back to the railroad, I can see why that clause was in there. So we did sell it back to the railroad. It actually makes perfect sense. Me voting for this tonight in no way, shape, or form, or in any way says that I'm not for an arts center. As we talked about yesterday, I've been involved with that arts center since I was 20 years old, working for Oakland Construction, doing fly-throughs of the arts center when it was proposed at the train station, and then worked with Rick Feeney when it was over by the Powerhouse Museum. I love the project. I don't think the city is in any position right now with the City Hall PD potential project and other things we have going on to go forward in any like huge monetary capacity with that right now. I'm with Councillor Woodruff. I think the intention in talking to the other councillors, even ones that were under Ron LeBlanc when they were trying to get this sold back to the train again, and the 416 fire happened, and one of the councillors said, "You don't kick a partner when they're down," and I think that that's the kind of the spirit I want to try to honor, is what it was intended for. And I hope that maybe the train would partner with the Arts Center again, and try a future project there at that property. And it would make more sense to have the whole property and not just our little 1 acre part of the property that we could build on. So again, just because I'm voting potentially for this doesn't mean that I'm against any project or people or anything. I think it's just the spirit of this. And I believe in what we did. I believe we found a fair meet the middle, try to raise some money for our transportation department and also meet the train part way. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Anyone else? Okay, can I get a vote?
Councillor Youssef,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Councillor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Beal,
Yes.
Councillor Bosmans.
No.
Okay, next item off the consent agenda is item 8.2.8, ordinance O-2024-0033, appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies for operating expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2025 budget year. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance O-2024-0033, appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies for operating expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2025 budget year.
I'll second.
Council discussion?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the microphone stopped. I appreciate this opportunity. This comment I'm going to make covers both 8.2.8, so this agenda item, as well as the next one, 8.29, so I don't have to repeat it. I do not support the budget and the allocation or appropriation of the various funds. I believe the budget is unrealistic, lacks basic information presented in an understandable, transparent manner, and includes many items that our community does not appear to want and expenses that I consider wasting taxpayers' money. I had provided my comments and explanation before during the regular city council meeting on November 19th, which is recorded, so anyone who wishes to understand can access it online or just contact me directly.
Anyone else?
I'm looking forward to what we can do in 2025 to best put the use of taxpayer money in 2025. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great.
All right. Can I get a vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie? Yes. Counselor Woodruff?
Yes.
Counselor Youssef?
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's?
No.
Mayor Buell?
Yes. Item 8.2.9. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve ordinance 2024-0034, appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies for capital expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2025 budget year.
I'll second. Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Counselor Woodruff?
Yes.
Mayor Buell?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie?
Yes.
Counselor Youssef?
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's?
No.
Item 8.3.2. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to provide a letter of support for an application submission as a host site candidate for the 2030 UCI Mountain Bike World Championship.
Second.
Council discussion?
Yes, I brought this up to poll because I just wanted to ask a couple questions. We got a timeline from Mr. Sippy when he presented last time that said that if we write this letter and apply for this, we will hear by June. But I noted in the documentation that there was in addition to the application that they have to fill out, that there is also $20,000 a $20,000 fee for this application process. And I just kind of wanted to find out more information on who is providing the funds for that fee, because I know we have not been asked for that.
We can ask you for it now if you'd like,
Yes.
but we actually know.
Is it-
Visit Durango has provided us $10,000 in this effort, and the other $10,000 was provided by the Iron Horse Bicycle Classic.
I think that's a great demonstration of the show of community support. So I wanted to pull that to show that. So thank you again.
Yep, you bet.
Should be simple. Thank you.
Any other council discussion?
Yeah, I had one question on this too. I think it's a great opportunity, and hopefully we get through the application process and get selected and have a fantastic rerun and opportunity and all these championships here. And in the documents, I'm probably way ahead, but I'm just trying to understand one item here, which is the emergency services, because I've heard that on multiple organizers that it's not always easy to get support at every level. And the emergency services was mentioned in this as being provided by the city. And I was just curious because these typically are provided by the fire district, I thought, is there enough for you to get that all, even if it's too early probably, but I was just wondering.
I think that's a great question. And so the emergency services for an event like this, I'm going to compare the Iron Horse Bicycle Classic. I'm pretty familiar with that. The emergency services that we use to span two counties and a couple of cities compared to this, which would be in a single venue at Purgatory. We would need emergency services, absolutely working with Durango Fire Protection District on that, along with probably Silverton Ambulance, county resources, and that type of thing. A different environment, though, from the standpoint we will not have riders out on open roads. We will have a contained environment at Purgatory. So think of it more of like a festival, if you will, where we'll have lots of spectators. We're managing some of that. Obviously, we're going to have riders that will get injured. That's just part of the game, but it would be a smaller footprint from that standpoint than the ridership we would have from an Iron Horse. So yes, having emergency services to help us with everything from medical care to traffic control and things of that nature. But again, I'm going to say from an emergency service standpoint, a smaller footprint than the Iron Horse Bicycle Classic.
Okay, well, thank you, and let's get this going.
Okay, can we have a vote?
Counselor Bosman's?
Yes.
Counselor Youssef?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie?
Yes.
Mayor Buell?
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff?
Yes.
Item 8.3.3, resolution to adopt the 2025 legislative agenda for the city of Durango. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. Council discussion?
Yeah, I pulled this item off the agenda. We had the study session this afternoon covering the contents of some of the items that were being proposed. It seems we are spending money and time to try and influence state legislators versus taking a position and communicating this once needed for specific items. There are very broad topics, and even though some may make sense, I'm not sure if we're on the right track. For example, construction defect laws, or where the city position is in favor of passing reforms, and as a justification implying that due to current construction defect laws, the construction of for sale multifamily housing is greatly limited in Colorado. This may or may not be true, but is a very one-sided view, as one could also argue we need those construction defect laws. And if any reforms are needed, to what degree, and to what degree do we want to be involved as a small city with limited voice? Similar for Governmental Immunity Act and many more listed in the package. These are such broad topics and require a significant in-depth understanding instead of just making a general position and having an external company or select number of people write this for the city, assuming that city council, allegedly acting on behalf of our residents, stamp this off. I believe it is beneficial to track and being aware of legislation at the state level. However, now we are taking many positions, and I'm not sure if they are all what our community wants. And we will be spending even more staff time and money on external consultants to present the city at the state level. This goes far beyond just tracking and being aware. And in my opinion, probably not the best use of taxpayers' dollars that are in our community.
Anything else? All right, can I get a vote?
Councillor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Councillor Bosmans,
No.
Mayor Beal,
Yes.
Councillor Youssef.
Yes.
Item 10, public hearings. We have no items. Item 11, resolutions. 11.1, a resolution authorizing the city attorney to provide legal services for a matter filed by John Simpson and pending before the Colorado Independent Ethics Commission involving the official acts of Councillor Youssef at public meeting.
I'm going to recuse myself and leave the room completely so that there's no any indication that I might be involved in this. Thank you.
Sure. And just to recite the law, anytime a counselor wants to recuse themselves, as Councilor Youssef is, the only obligation is to not vote and not participate in the discussion. But I think to avoid any accusation you may have done something wrong, leaving the room is certainly appropriate too.
For the next item, please.
Do we need to make a motion before you go into it? Great. I move to approve a resolution authorizing the city attorney to provide legal services for a matter filed by John Simpson and pending before the Colorado Independent Ethics Commission involving the official acts of Councilor Youssef at a public meeting.
I'll second.
Oh, okay. I'll second.
Yeah, Gilda seconds. Council discussion? Or do you want to?
I can give you just a brief explanation. I want to just make sure it's clear so there aren't any false allegations about what we're doing here because it is a sensitive topic. Several months ago, last year sometime, we voted to reorganize the way our ethics works in the city of Durango. Basically, we took away the local ethics board's authority over city councilors because I had explained to you guys that it just didn't look right and it was a conflict of interest for you guys to appoint people that would then sit in judgment of you. And it was also pretty obvious that the process had been weaponized before I got here, and it just seemed like a really, really good idea to send ethics complaints about counselors to the state. That had never been done before in the state of Colorado, and we knew that, but we felt like we could set the trend to have a better form of ethics reviews. Of course, very shortly after we did that, one of our citizens who's very active in his criticism of the city filed an ethics complaint against one of our city councilors for some official actions that she took. after receiving advice from the city attorney. That caused the State Ethics Commission to review our kind of hybrid plan of having the state look at you guys and we could still look at our local people locally. I'm happy to report that they appreciated what we've done and they said that that is a good hybrid system, and they did in fact have jurisdiction over this case that citizen filed. This resolution authorizing me to represent Councilor Youssef is very, very limited. I'm only asking you to allow me to do this because these were actions that were taken with my advice in public at a public meeting, and it sets a precedence that if that happens, that if you do your job as a counselor and you vote your conscience or you participate in a vote that I say it's okay to vote in and someone's filed a complaint against you, that I can defend you. It does not set a precedence for if you do something out of office on your private time, if you do something that I saw a lot in Louisiana where counselors were using their influence to try to do things they shouldn't be doing outside of the public review and not when you're at a city council meeting. This does not set a precedence for doing that. I do not want to defend a counselor who is doing things outside of their official capacity because of their title, and would never ask you to do that. So this sets a precedence that anytime this issue comes up, it would have to be voted on by the council, and it would be limited to those situations where you are doing it in public at a public meeting as a part of your official duty as a counselor.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, I have a question. Because before asking council to support any action with no understanding or background information, even though you did just provide the background information, but we have no understanding of what this matter, the actual matter, is about. Our community has no understanding at all. Can you give an explanation of what the actual case is about?
So that is actually out there for public consumption because of the individual who filed it. I'm going to be defending it, so I would rather not comment in public on what it's about. I will tell you that in my opinion, it's completely frivolous.
Okay, well, the Colorado Independent Ethics Commission is a serious entity. It's a constitutionally created independent commission charged with certain ethics issue of the Colorado Constitution. And for them to consider this case non-frivolous means this matter is significant and not trivial, contrary to what seems to be mentioned here. I believe you had mentioned before that as the city attorney, you first represent the interest of the city and our community and not individual councillors. So I personally think it would be better to have some distance between your role for our city and have this matter addressed by an outside counsel. That way, should this case lead to more consequences, you can actually represent the city and our community in your role as a city attorney versus being compromised as you would have represented one party in a matter between a resident and one councillor. More importantly, I expect we spent well over $100,000 over the past years on ethics complaints and legal cases, especially if you include staff time and outside attorneys. And we have lost legal cases or somehow settled them. And instead of apologizing, we continue to harass, in my opinion, individuals. I happen to believe a court case and an actual judge or independent commission making a ruling means something. Maybe we're doing something wrong. And equally important, I believe most, if not all, complaints and legal cases over the past years could have and should have been prevented. Unfortunately, the media does not report this clearly, and despite what some people try to imply, in that I have a personal connection with Mr. Simpson, which is not the case, I do believe that Mr. Simpson is an example of someone that has been arrested and undermined, with rules and decisions applied differently as for other cases. And this seems to be because Mr. Simpson has a different opinion, but he's also very knowledgeable of city affairs and able to point out many areas for improvement. And he was doing this as a volunteer. I tend to stand up for anyone who is being bullied or harassed unfairly. And even though this matter, this seems to be a matter filed by an individual, I personally think we should be moving forward, improve the system and process, get out of this vicious cycle and focus our time and energy on things that matter most for our community. I'll leave it at that.
And I'll just make a clarification that the state ethics board is very important, as Councilor Bosman explained, but it is a absolutely gross misrepresentation to say their designation of a claim as non-frivolous means that it has any merit. It says that in their own rules and their own definitions. It's unfortunate that that's a term that they choose, and Mr. Simpson has made a big deal out of that being non-frivolous. It's my opinion the reason it was deemed non-frivolous was so they could make a decision on the jurisdictional issue. But we'll see, because it is a process. We respect the process. My first obligation to the city as a city attorney is to the city, which is exactly why I styled the resolution like I did, because that is the city acting on my advice and a counselor acting on my advice. So I believe that my request to represent is in line with my charge.
I'll just chime in real quick and say that as one counselor who well, maybe it's not donate, but who gives lots of my time to the city and to doing this job, that if I am doing something that I am advised by my attorney to do and that we think is going forward the proper course of action, I would hope that I wouldn't have to spend out of my personal money attorney to pay for an attorney to defend me outside of that the city and my colleagues would think that it would be right to have our attorney defend us for the jobs that we're taking on and the risk that we're doing. So we're clear, because Councilor Bosman has a tendency of twisting words. He has filed numerous ethics complaints against counselors. He is one of the people abusing this privilege and this power, and why we are in the situation we are in. It is unfortunate that he had such intertwined relationships as per the emails that came out between him and Mr. Simpson. And so those are facts, and those are an open records request. The Herald has them. I'm not twisting any words. I just want to make sure we are completely accurate in what we're saying. Yes, lots of money has been spent on open records requests that Councilor Bosman's has filed against counselors. That is truth. Thank you for helping us represent us and, making sure that we're taken care of when we're up here risking a lot for our community that we love and care about. Anything else? All right, can I get a vote?
Councilor Bosmans?
No, I will vote against it.
Mayor Beal?
Yes.
Councilor Woodruff?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie?
Yes.
Okay, we'll let Councilor Youssef back in, and then we'll move on to the next item. We are on 11.2. Thank you. Item 11.2, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the Durango Mesa Park long-term planning, development, maintenance, and operations agreement submitted by Parks and Recreation. I think we have a presentation. Yes or no? Yes. Bye.
Good evening, Council. Scott, go ahead, Kelly. You want to start?
Yep, I'll kick us off. My apologies, everyone, for not being there this evening. I'm feeling under the weather. But good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, Kelly Schmidt, Parks and Recreation Director, here with Scott McLean, Assistant Parks Director, as well as representatives from the Durango Mesa Park Foundation, Maura Compton, Executive Director, and Hogan Kosis, Program Manager. Slide. Tonight, we're looking for approval of a resolution that will authorize the city manager to enter on the city's behalf into a long-term planning, development, maintenance, and operations agreement for Durango Mesa Park. On a very high level, this document provides for a formalized partnership with Durango Mesa Park Foundation toward the successful development of Durango Mesa Park, as well as a roadmap to land conveyance, management, and maintenance. It serves as an umbrella agreement that will collaboratively align future actions and trajectory of the park's development. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Maura Compton to detail how we've arrived at the authoring of this agreement and our path here today.
Good evening, Mayor Buell and Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie, councilors, and city staff. So the slide in front of you is a slide that was presented at the kind of the first open house. That was from March of 2023 between the foundation and the city. And this really walks through the history of the property. When the property was purchased in 2015, it was purchased with the vision of donating it back to the community in a meaningful way. In 2016, county started the master plan process, and that was completed in 2017. Simultaneously, 2017, the city started working on the area master plan work, and that was completed. That was adopted by the city in 2018. 2019 was a lot of rework because the master planning and the area planning work that was done came with a considerable price of $150 million. But what I'd like to make sure that the community hears is that that was a multi-decade and phased build out. And so the work that was focused on in 2019 was the phase 1 planning and design with both the city and the county at the time to get to the initial kind of opening of the park. 2020, the foundation did a lot of individual bike park research and tours of community gathering areas and how we could initiate the start of the park in a way that all community members could use from the onset. And then, of course, COVID hit. So brakes were put on, but we continued to work as the foundation. In 2021, we got to a point where the city purchased the Horse Gulch property area that was mutually beneficial for the city and the foundation. The city for a very long time had wanted to secure that property, make sure that that remained open space and for recreational use. And then those funds were directed towards the infrastructure that we knew was coming. And then as well, there was it seems like a minor thing, but a traffic study. And that really started the process on key items for the civil engineering. 22 consultants were hired for the infrastructure and annexation, as well as the bike park and the community gathering plan. In 23, we started the demonstration trail project, as well as the bike park master plan. We continued through annexation with the city, and then as well the design and the initial piece for the emergency egress road, which is a very critical piece to having any public use in this space. During this time, significant coordination has occurred with the city and with the foundation to get to this point where we are tonight. So now I want to talk through where we are today. Through the remainder of that first slide was from the open house in 23, and through the remainder of 23, we worked through the annexation to be approved by the city in late 23 and completed actually in 24. The city of Durango and the foundation and the community celebrated the opening of the demonstration trails. It was a very great moment, September of 23 last year. And then right around the same time, La Plata County decided to pull out from the project because of a lot of other pressures and items that they were working on. So we moved into 24. We brought on Hogan Kosis, who's nationally recognized, and he was hired as our project and program manager. The Meadow Hub was completed for the demonstration trails, and it really sets the tone for the gathering spaces that will be in the park. We hosted our first large-scale concert that was Michael Franti over Memorial Day weekend. Great success. And then construction, I can actually say, standing here today, construction of the emergency egress road is now complete. Yay! We also worked within the deadlines of the CDOT permit for the highway construction, and that was renewed. The designs were completed. Road construction for Highway 3 and the Ewing Mesa Road will be started in 25. There'll be more to come on that. Community-driven bike park and gathering master plan work was completed. And then we are finishing up with this weather that we have, finishing up trail work to the future bike park area from the Meadow Hub demonstration trail area. So one thing that I would just like to state, all of these items have led to critical planning and design preparation leading into 2025, where we're really going to see significant movement on this project. One other item that I would like to mention tonight, we plan to have our next public engagement event will be another open house. It's on March 25th at 5:30. It'll be in City Council chambers. And at that time, we'll really be able to update all of the public that shows up on the road construction process, the timeline, the bike park, and the community gathering timeline and deadlines. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Hogan Kosas.
Hello, I'm Hogan Kostas, the project and program manager that Maura mentioned that was hired in 24 earlier this year. And I wanted to extend my thank you to the council members and city staff that have made this happen up to this point. This long-term agreement really does epitomize the partnership that promotes the park's success going forward. I know that we'll hear a lot of bike park terminology in the next year and going forward, but we really are trying to take all users into account as we develop these trails, because ultimately the success of this park really lies in the programming and sustainability that foster the next step for infrastructure going forward. So as we take this approach without any infrastructure in place, we were able to host almost 8,000 people this year with just 2 staff members working semi-part-time on the Mesa. And I know that there's a lot of public out there that looks at the bike park, maybe because they're not a bike rider per se, but we are looking at 25 opening hiking only trails, biking only trails, and multi-use trails. So we're really trying to take the full gamut of trail experiences amongst all users that really are able to be programmed from an event activation standpoint and really functions for our society and our the people that live here that use trails. We're going to build everything for everyone. So I just wanted to take that moment to thank you. This long-term agreement is a unique opportunity that really does insert a sustainable element that's unique to Durango. Like a city project, it's taking into account the programming, the space activation, and the preservation into perpetuity, and really has the potential to balance that Western heritage with modern day park infrastructure. Thank you.
Scott McLean, Assistant Parks Director. Good evening. So as you've heard, that the long-term agreement really kind of identifies a common direction, vision for the project over the next couple of years. It also identifies processes to address changing needs as those may occur, but that's specific really relative to the development, operations, programming of additional trails, the bike park, and the BMX facility. And some of the slide here is just kind of try to outline a couple of the items generally, but the agreement will provide for the continued collaboration on trail development connections. So looking at what we have on the existing trail system that's been developed and how that ties in with the new development, alignment of public engagement, capital campaigns, and grant opportunities. That I think both kind of this first step with getting a lot of the infrastructure, the road up to the facility, and then this agreement set us up to be in a good position to work with the foundation on obtaining grants, looking for opportunities to get some support from organizations or user groups as well. The design development, a lot of that's being driven by what will be programmed up at the Mesa. The opportunity for city lease or acquired ownership by the city as we transition into more facilities being developed up there, and city staff taking on some of the maintenance up there as well. So, and then to continue just collaboration on maintenance operations, what programming looks like up there, and as well as event planning. So as I said, the long-term agreement really provides kind of that big picture of what happens over the next couple of years. Serial funding agreement is what we've been using as an annual basis to align with the council approved annual budget and commitments for specific development and operations over the next year. So for 2024, we have a funding agreement that's in line with what's been approved in the 24 budget. And then we've had a draft version for 2025 that we're working on that will then direct based on commitments that were made in the 2025 budget. That's the language for the resolution.
And just a note, Mayor and Council, just to make sure it is clear, while it does provide a long-term plan and financing, there is the appropriations where it can't bind future councils. But however, with city councils and making sure that we honor our agreements, that it usually does. I've never seen where a council goes against it, but I do want to make sure that that's placed in there because that is state law and that the council knows that that is part of that agreement, that we do intend to commit, but we cannot bind future councils.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move to approve resolution R 2024, authorizing the city manager to execute the long-term Durango Mesa Park planning, development, maintenance, and operations agreement.
I'll second.
Great, do we have council discussion? Questions? Anything? Anyone?
Just showing my continued support for this project. I'm really excited to see it. It's nice that we got the emergency egress going. It's not that sexy, but it's great progress. I know that was we were waiting to get that done. So progress is being made and it's going to be a great asset for our community. It already is, but I'm excited to see it develop further with this long-term plan.
I'm excited also, and I appreciate all the work you're putting into it and all the fun that it's going to bring in the future for everybody, especially with getting hiking trails up there and the music. It's going to be excellent. So thank you.
I know
Councilor
because
Bosman?
there's something wrong. Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me? My internet connection is starting to fail on me, it seems.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm very supportive of all of the things we're doing for Durango Mesa Park and driven by the foundation and the people there presenting. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I just two small things. One is you might want to do a spell check or language check because under 2.2, unless my English is not good enough, but it says this, the city agrees to partner with the foundation to message operational oversight. I don't think that's correct, maybe manage. But, and under the other question I had is Exhibit C, that the committee shall include one representative and one alternate from the parties. And I was just wondering, I'm first of all assuming that the committee will not be two people. Is there any more information that you can provide for that committee? How it will be made up and
Thanks for pointing that out. So that has been a conversation piece that has been ongoing for approximately 4 years. Initially, that was one member from city, county, and foundation. I will let you know that where that is, so that would be a 3-person committee. I'm actually having another conversation with the county in the near future to see where they are in this. And so you're talking specifically about that management committee piece, correct, Councilor Bosmans?
Sure. Yes, correct.
Correct. And so we will go into more conversation once we know where the county's final stance is on that. But you are correct. We will not have a 2-person committee. And so we will make sure that there is a representation and 3 members on that committee. But I need a final answer from the county before we make that decision.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, excellent. Can I have a vote?
For confirmation, Mayor, this will be resolution 2024-0080.
Great.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Councilor Youssef,
Yes.
Councilor Bosmans,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Yes.
All right, moving along. Item 11.3, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting an operating budget for the city of Durango, Colorado, submitted by Finance. Elliot.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. I am not Devin Schmidt. She is online if we do have any questions specifically for her. But thank you for letting me present tonight. So this is a resolution to adopt the operating and capital budget and mill levy certification for the 2025 budget. Thanks. And again, just resolutions to adopt the operating and capital and the mill levy certification for the 2025 budget. So quick timeline on what we've done for budget development. The Financial Advisory Board started with CIP recommendations all the way back in August and September. We've had many different times for public and council input, including the budget retreat, public hearings, and reconciliation and first consideration of the ordinance. And that brings us to tonight, December 3rd, for the budget adoption and mill levy certifications. The last step will be to submit it to the Department of Local Affairs and GFOA for the Distinguished Budget Award. You all discussed the ordinance earlier tonight, so just a quick explanation as to why we have both an ordinance and a resolution. Here we have excerpt from the charter, and just a quick explanation of why we're doing both is that the ordinance approves the budget for 2025, and these resolutions allow us to amend it by resolution in 2025. So it's really an efficiency kind of resolution so that we can make amendments in 2025. Moving on, the first consideration is the operating budget. And again, this is just the fund summary that has been presented several times through the year up till now with several times for public and council input. And with that, we have the recommended motion.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution R 2024-81, appropriating the sums of expenditures shown on Exhibit A from the estimated revenues and reserve carryovers of each operating fund.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Okay, can I get a vote?
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff.
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's.
Counselor Bosmans, are you there? Looks like he dropped off. Okay. Well, it passes. You can just put, can we just put Counselor Bosmans as not here? Okay, great. Moving along. 11.4, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a capital budget for the city of Durango, Colorado.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. And this again is just a quick summary of the capital funds for the city of Durango. These have been seen multiple times. And then the combined operating and capital funds for specific funds that that's applicable to. And here's our proposed recommendation.
Great. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution R 2024-82, appropriating the sums of expenditures shown on Exhibit A from the estimated revenues and reserve carryovers of each capital fund.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff.
Yes.
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's. And Mayor Beal.
Yes. And 11.5, a resolution establishing the 2025 mill levy for the city of Durango.
Well, thank you. So the state requires that we pass a resolution to certify the mill levy for the city of Durango. So we are estimating $3,421,645 in tax revenue from mill levies in 2025, and it's up to you to adopt that certification.
I move to approve Resolution R 2024-83, levying property taxes for the year 2025, generating approximately $3,421,645 in property tax revenue for the city of Durango.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's.
Yes.
It's back. All right. 11.6, a resolution to amend the 2024 budget.
All right, well, thank you again, Council. This is our final amendment for the 2024 budget. And it is largely an operating and grants amendment with just a few amendments on here. So first, general fund transfer performance employees from finance to the city manager's office. This is largely just procedural again. Where we've had vacant positions within finance and they are moving divisions. And then an additional payment to both the policeman and fireman's pension. That actually has to do with the pension performance and the payments that we made out. So this is just matching the budget to the actuals on that. And then similarly with all of the next amendments that are all grant related, it's just matching the budget to the actuals that are related to the grants. There really isn't a whole lot of fund balance changes or anything like that with these. Again, largely just accounting to make sure that the grants fund and the projects match the budget. And here is our recommended motion.
I move to approve Resolution R 2024-84, appropriating budget to various funds and operating and capital as outlined in the resolution.
I'll second. Council discussion?
If you allow me, I have one small question. It has to do with the fireman's pension increase of $82,000. How many firemen are in this pension plan left?
I'm not sure of that off the top of my head, and the way the plan is set up is it's not just the firemen, but I believe it includes their beneficiaries as well.
Yeah, if I remember, it was a handful. I'm not sure if maybe the city manager or someone else knows.
I don't have the exact number, but it wasn't very many.
I believe it was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
Okay, and then so the 82,000 is purely because the funds performed less well, I guess, compared to what was planned to be paid out, or?
It's actually an additional payment, so we're increasing the expense to what was paid out, so it performed better than what we expected.
So, oh man, let me just understand that here. So the pension fund performed better, and the excess money is being paid out. Is that what you said, or?
Correct. Yep.
Elliot, I think what you're saying is because of the expenses being more, we have to actually do the amendment to our expenses. That's going to be offset by the extra revenue that we've gotten in.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
But did the expenses go up then for the pension payments, or?
The expenses for the pension have not gone up. The expenses to the general fund, because of what we paid out to the recipients of the pension funds, has gone up. So as Jose said, it's offset by the revenue, which is performance from the actual pension fund.
So in budgeting, when the revenue performs better, we have to offset it by adjusting our expenses also to match the revenue performing better.
But I understand that the increase is actually the increase in payout to the pension recipients.
Yes.
So my next question would be, what changed that this was not anticipated in the beginning? Is it something, because if there's only 4 or 5 recipients of the pension, and to be $82,000 off, that's $15,000.
Let me see if I can provide clarity. The
Yeah.
expense is 1/2 of the budget. The other part is the revenue. So when revenues come in higher and perform better than expected, we end up paying out more. which at the end of the year, we have to adjust our expenses to show that the revenue paid out came in higher, so it offsets each other. That's why we do budget adjustments.
So the pension that these recipients receive varies based on the performance of the fund.
Yes.
Interesting. I'll leave it at that. It's, thank you.
I guess a point of clarification, that's how pensions and retirement funds work, right? You're putting money in and then those are relating to market dynamics and you're making more money. And so therefore you're hoping that you can make more money because of what you're investing into retirement?
Absolutely. When you invest in, we look at basing it off the year prior. And if the investment does better, we get increased revenue, which leads to having to do increased expenses. So it's not an increased expense per se that we spent more. It is that we received more money in our revenues. So in our budget, which has to be balanced, we have to increase our expenses to offset the revenues.
Because of a pension doing what it's supposed to.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? Can I get a vote?
Counselor Bosmans,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi,
Yes.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff.
Yes.
All right, item 11.7, a resolution to appoint applicants to the Community and Cultural Relations Commission. I will, oh gosh, hang on, what's his name? I didn't have it pulled up, sorry. I'm going to make a motion that we appoint, we had our final interview yesterday, actually, that Clancy and I did, and we have a great applicant for the Community and Cultural Relations Commission. And nope. Sorry. So I'm going to move that we appoint Daryl Oshiro to the 2-year appointment for the Community and Cultural Relations Commission.
Second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi,
Yes.
Counselor Bosmans,
I will abstain because I have to justify my abstaining. I am not. Go ahead. Did you want to interrupt?
So just a reminder, the rules that were passed, abstentions, and I know this happened at the last meeting, we didn't say anything about it, but as a counselor, you're obligated to vote yes or no unless you have a personal interest or economic interest in the vote. An abstention is only appropriate for those reasons.
Oh,
if
so
you feel like you have a lack of knowledge, you should just vote no.
No.
You voted no.
okay. Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Oh, that's it. Okay, moving on. Here we go. Item 12, first consideration of ordinances. 12.1, an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Junked, Wrecked, and Abandoned Property, Article 3, Vehicles, Section 12-42, Prohibitions. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve an ordinance amending in pertinent part of the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Junked, Wrecked, and Abandoned Property, Article 3, Vehicles, Section 12-42, Prohibitions.
I'll second. Explanation or council discussion?
Sure. I've been working with the enforcement side of the parking division. There were some issues with our language that the municipal court judge actually saw. So there's a couple amendments tonight to that code to give them authority to actually tow vehicles when they're doing things that are injurious to the public.
Excellent. Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Bosmans,
Yes.
Mayor Buell.
Yes. Item 12.2, an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Article 3, Snow and Ice, Section 21-36, removal by owner, tenant, or occupant of premises. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right. Second.
Council discussion? All right, let's get a vote.
Counselor Bosmans,
Yes.
Mayor Beal,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Item 12.3, an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1 through 13, codes kept on file. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Mayor Beal,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Yes.
Item 12.4, an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-14, Acceptance of Code. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Beal,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's.
Yes.
Item 12.5, an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code Ordinances of Chapter 24, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Parking Administration and Regulations, Section 24-75, Authorization for Towing and Impoundment of Illegally Parked Vehicles. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes. Item 13, public comment on city matters not scheduled for vote tonight. Do we have anyone signed up?
No, Mayor, no one has signed up.
Okay, we will move along. Item 14, other new business. There's nothing listed or that was submitted.
Can I make a new business item?
What did you say, Councilor Bosmans?
I would like to make a new business item a motion.
Can we do that just on the fly, or do we need to submit it beforehand?
I believe if they put it on, if it is mentioned here, we place it under new business.
The next one. Great.
You can't
Perfect.
consider it, but he can throw
You
the
can throw it out there. All right, go ahead, Councilor Bosmans.
I would like to make a motion to place a resolution on the December 17th regular city council meeting directing the city manager and staff to provide a presentation on organic waste management, including recommendations and potential ordinance.
We don't have a meeting on the 17th. Our next meeting isn't until January.
It's on the meeting's website for the city.
The 17th is the council appointee evaluations.
On a regular city council meeting.
So what would be the next meeting? I'll just change my motion with a different date.
It's in January.
Which date is it? Faye, maybe do you have it?
January 7th.
So I'll make a motion to place a resolution on the January 7th regular city council meeting directing the city manager and staff to provide a presentation on organic waste management, including recommendations and potential ordinance.
Mayor, I believe you've already submitted an email to have a resolution on, so I don't know if it's the same or not.
It's a little different, so should we vote on this one?
You don't vote, we just place them both.
We have to get support to put it on, or he's gonna put his on too.
They both
it'll
go on.
appear on the next
Okay,
agenda.
so
and then you guys would vote.
yours will appear on the next agenda, so he's not gonna make they won't be able to make a presentation there because it wasn't on the agenda for us to talk about. So you submitted it as a new business item. It'll come up under new business in January. Just so council is aware, I also submitted one via email to Kyle to give direction to the city manager to form a community focus group to assist staff in providing council a recommendation on composting and organics waste management. And so both of those will appear on.
And one or both can go forward.
And
after.
one or both can go forward after the January 7th meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask something clarifying to the city attorney? It was my understanding that if I bring a new business item up, that either it gets support and then it's on the agenda, or it doesn't get support. Regardless, if I make the new business item in advance, so staff has time to prepare, or if I do it on the fly at the last minute, because I think that was one of the emails that was sent earlier a while back, that you can do it also during the meeting if it's something that came up short term.
So I think you misunderstood. There was a policy that was agreed upon with the city manager's office that to give the staff an opportunity to prepare, it would either have to be done in advance of the meeting, or if it's brought up at the meeting, it would fall on the next regular meeting.
Okay, so councilors, even though I'm not having a discussion with staff, there's no discussion whatsoever. There's no way to have, even now, I cannot get requests. I made a motion, so I cannot even get support for a motion. I can't even bring up a motion.
I mean, you can technically bring a motion whenever you choose to, but the policy of the council, as I understand it, because motions were being brought at the end of the meeting and no one had a chance to prepare on the topic, that it was inappropriate to do it that way. So we came up with a system where it could be brought up, then the staff would have opportunity to provide information, and it could be voted on when everyone had full information.
But
so
the motion is to get the information. Because we're not discussing anything.
Yeah. Correct. I mean, I mean, I'm sorry, Councilor Bosman. I just think that you have a misunderstanding of the process. It was the way you described it at one time. It was problematic. The council agreed to change it, and there will be no vote on new business unless the staff had prior notice of it to put it on the agenda.
Interesting. I withdraw my motion, maybe easier, because if Jessica already made it, then it's all good. Actually, no, I'll leave it on there. It's good. New business.
Okay, so I'm confused. Did you want to leave yours on as well or not?
Yeah, leave mine on.
Okay, good. So both of those will be on under new business at the next meeting. All right. Anything else? Okay. I'll take all those in favor of adjournment.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
See you all in January. Well,